song went on to become, my very first credit went on to be nominated for a Grammy, and it's just it was wild.
Mark, can you walk us through the very beginnings of AMG back in the 90s? How were you able to start the company? How were you able to secure capital
Mhm.
back in the day?
Well, the capital was basically raised on the artists that I was producing. So I was producing rock bands, solo artists, and they were paying me fees to produce, my producer's fees, and I was just reinvesting that in databases of music, film, and television supervisors. So we would get music out to all the TV shows, all the films, all the music supervisors, and stuff like that. So that's really how the company got financed. And then I ran into a gentleman by the name of Robert Lantos, who ran a company called Alliance Atlantis, which in the late '80s, early '90s was a major independent film production company. Robert won Oscars for his work as a producer, and I signed my publishing company to their publishing division called TMP, and then they picked up the whole catalog because the artists that I was producing, I'd lower my fee if I could get involved with their publishing assets, right? Because I was doing a lot of putting songs in film and TV shows. So, put one song in a movie, you could make $10,000, at that time. So, if I'm a co-publishing partner, then 2,500 of that is AMG's. So, and the higher it goes, the more they want the music, the higher the fees, right? Like if that piece of music, mood, topic, genre, gender, lyrics, if that works for that scene, then they'll chase you for the music.
Mark, did you always want to get into this creative industry? Did you know from the very beginning that this is what you really wanted to do?
Yep, yep. Back in high school, I went to my business affairs teacher, and I told him, I think I want to do this because my dad, I would say, my dad, how come, how come the trumpet's on the left speaker and the vocals are on the right speaker? And my dad was like, I don't know, go find out. Like he didn't know. My dad was a scientist, a chemist. So I went to this teacher, Mrs. Coroneas, who's 101, and I still stay in touch with to this very day because it's her that I called in the early '90s when I went to film school at the University of Toronto, and she had a friend who was a professor at the University of Toronto, and she put me with him, and then the rest is history. So that's really how it started. When I got into the music side of things, the uh, I was able to get in touch with various people in the business, and I found this school in New York called the Institute of Audio Research, and it was in Lower Manhattan on University Place, right around the corner from NYU, and uh, and I did 2 years of night school. So I'd go to high school during the day, and then 3 nights a week I'd jump on a train, go into Manhattan, and I went to the Institute of Audio Research, and I was running from the Vietnam War. I didn't want to go to Vietnam, so I decided to leave the country and go to England. And I wrote down all my favorite records. Where was that recorded? David Bowie, where's that recorded? Elton John, where was that recorded? And I went through all these English bands, and I just went to England, and I just started pounding on doors, and got into a few studios. And one that I got into was Air Studios, which was owned by Sir George Martin, who produced all the Beatle records. And they let me in, and I was a T-boy, what they called them back then. I was a gopher, right? Yeah, you want a pack of smokes? No problem. I'll go get you a pack of smokes. You want a coffee? I'll get you a coffee. No problem. You know, and I worked there for over 2 years just as an assistant. And then the first sessions I worked on were the Live and Let Die soundtrack with Sir Paul McCartney, and I got my very first credit there, which was the Carly Simon "You're So Vain" album, which had Mick Jagger singing on it as well.
What did that mean to you to get your first credit?
Well, it was great. Number one, because the song went on to become, my very first credit went on to be nominated for a Grammy, and it's just it was wild. Wow, I never would have thought, that it could go that far. But I used that credit to go get other jobs. So I had immigration problems in England. I was a T-boy. Any English kid could have done that, right? So I said, okay, let me go back to New York. Went back to New York, walked the streets of New York for a bit, pounded on doors, and luckiest kid in the world, I got a job at Vanguard Records on 23rd Street, and they had their own studio. Coincidentally, when I did my workshops at Vanguard Studios, when I was at the Institute of Audio Research. So here I go. I wind up back at Vanguard Studios. John Warham was our teacher. He wrote the Recording Engineer Handbook, which is like the Bible of the industry growing up, and it was in a great neighborhood, right next door to the Chelsea Hotel. So I'd see Sid Vicious all the time, and from the Sex Pistols, and yeah, just it was wild, wild. The YMCA was across the street. The YMCA that the Village People sang YMCA about was across the street, and a block away, the studio was right next door to the Chelsea Hotel, and a block away was on Sixth Avenue and 23rd was the offices for Vanguard, and I worked there for 12 years, and got quite a name in the dance music business, um, as an engineer and mixer. So it was, and then I got my first production there as well. I produced the Alicia records, which became, very, very successful dance records. I did her album, and we had three major singles: All My Passion, Two Turned On, and Baby Talk. Was more of an international record. So I did that for a while, and then Vanguard got sold to the Lawrence Welk Music Group, and I went independent, and that was 86, 87. And then that's when my lawyer, Paul Schindler, started plugging me into his international clients. So I fly to Australia, make some records for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and go to England, go to Berlin, and just working with Paul's clients and getting a name for myself. And I wound up in Canada.
But I also want to ask you, as someone who started in music production, do you feel like getting into film was the logical next step for someone like you, or was it something you really wanted to do as well?
I wanted to do it, and then we started supplying music for a lot of film. And then, I met Robert Lantos and Frank Davies, who ran the publishing division at Alliance, and that Alliance Atlantis was this like massive film company in the late '80s, early '90s, Oscar-winning films. And coincidentally, they lived a block away from me when I lived up on Bloor Street. Uh, so I go over there and hang out all the time, and but yeah, I wanted to go there. Getting involved on an executive producer capacity in films, that was a whole different thing. But it was the music that got me involved in the film side of things anyway. And then the Drake movie, Homecoming, that's what actually got us into the movie business. So someone came to us with this movie on Drake, live concert film here in Toronto. He just left the show, Degrassi, and they filmed the performance, and we picked it up, and we did a deal with Cineplex Odeon and their specialty division, Fathom Events, and we did 1,900 theaters over 2 nights worldwide. And for us, it was great. It was, oh, I like this movie business. It's pretty cool. And then we started getting involved in the financial side of films. So we work with a Wall Street investor who invests in our partially funded films. So somebody's got a $3 million movie. They raised 2.5 million. They need a 500,000. Great. We can go to our guy Richard on Wall Street, and we can grab the 500,000. Bang, the movie moves into production or into completion funds. And that's really how we do it. And then we jump on board for the music because we've got the catalog. BMG Music owns 50% of two of our music publishing divisions. So for us, it's a no-brainer to do the music because we do it all day long anyway for other people's projects.
You feel like this was another learning curve for you, or was it a
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
yeah?
Film business is you got to be very careful in the film business, because they tell you they got Denzel Washington, right, for a movie, but they actually don't have Denzel Washington. They met him at a party. They mentioned the movie, and they said, "Oh yeah, we had Denzel's interested." It's like, dude, I can't go to my investor and say you have Denzel Washington because you met him at a party, right? So there's a lot of due diligence that has to be done, even on the music side. Due diligence, is there a sample in that song that you're putting in? Has that sample been cleared? Besides the music for the master and the copyright, is there a sample? Great, we got to clear the sample. You know,
And if as someone who's been a judge at events in Cannes, I'm curious, are you seeing a certain trend in storytelling, content creation that maybe aspiring entrepreneurs in the media world should be aware of because it's such a crowded market right now?
it's a very crowded market. Everyone can make a movie, and anyone can get it up online for people to view. So it's important that if you are going to bed with a major streaming channel, that it's promoted and marketed properly. A lot of these movies that are done independently and get up on like Tubi or other type channels where they just winds up on YouTube or something. It's a very crowded field. You're not going to poke through at all, right? So it's important that you do have some sort of a promotion and marketing budget attached to the release. In fact, we won't get involved in anything unless there is some sort of a promotion and marketing budget available.
Mark, what do you think about the Canadian ecosystem today? Do you feel like it offers some advantages for people in the creative industry? We have a lot of Canadian people listening. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think that in the film market, I think it's a great place to film and spend your money on a film budget. Absolutely. In fact, on the project that we do get involved in on a financial basis, I always pitch Canada into the budget if it's possible, right? And that's because we've got and I remember my daughter, we were watching that Marco Polo movie, right? And I was going like, honey, this is like, look at China's beautiful. Let's go to China one day. My daughter's half Chinese, so she goes, Daddy, it was shot in Winnipeg. I go, what? What do you mean it was shot in Winnipeg? Yeah, it shot in Manitoba. I'm like, oh my God. And I researched it and it was shot in Manitoba. And I'm going, oh my God. And sure enough, I researched it more. And yeah, the tax credits couldn't be denied. Couldn't be denied. So they did all the exteriors. They built their own Great Wall, and but all the exteriors, the beautiful outdoors, and it's our backyard in Canada. So yeah, come here and you get, like I said, you get the tax credits, you get the exchange rate's phenomenal. It's like I said, $1.40 today. So $10 million movie, you get an extra $4 million in spending power. That's that's a pretty good incentive to come to Canada.
Mark, you've had a crazy career. David Bowie, Drake's Homecoming concert. These are just like little highlights of
Right.
what you really achieved. So I'm curious, what do you look forward today? Like what's something you still want to achieve?
Well, I'm going to get a TV show going. The films are cool. We're very good at it. We're very well connected in the film world for financing and etc. And I'd love to get a multi-episodic television show, kind of like a Squid Game. Like I look at this Squid Game thing and I go, oh my God, this has done $1 billion in
Took over the
revenue
world.
worldwide. It's like, oh my God. And they paid this guy like, 500 grand to do the very first one, which brought in over $1 billion in subscriptions alone to Netflix, and they paid this kid like $500,000 to direct these eight episodes. They're like, oh my God. Everybody went to the bank. Everybody.
Well, he's done a great job because
Yeah,
it literally
absolutely.
took over the planet.
Yeah, yeah.
Mark, it was an honor having you on. Thank you
Great.
so
My
much for
pleasure.
doing this.
Absolutely. My pleasure, man. Great to meet you. And let's do it again. We got a lot going on here at AMG with the various music related films as well. We got a great project, Sweat It Out, which is a documentary on the early pub rock scene of the late 70s, early 80s pub rock scene in Australia. So we've got early In Excess, early Jimmy Barnes, Midnight Oil, The Vinyls, AC/DC. Incredible documentary which is coming by the end of the year.
Sounds amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Mark.
Okay, buddy. Take care.